Welcome to the first season of our law firm podcast, where business and law met in the fintech field. My name is Marcin Waszak and I'm your guide to the world where innovation meets money. Today we have prepared for you three topics related to the payments institution comparison, VASP and CASP comparison and legal requirements. So if you want to stay up to date with the latest trends in the fintech, stay with us until the end. So, first topic that we will talk about with our guest, it will be Aleksandra Walas, head of the fintech department at our law firm.
Good afternoon.
And we will talk about the very interesting topic, in my opinion, it will be payments institution. And let's start from the beginning, from the preliminary issues.
Sure.
What do you think about the fintech industry in Poland? Is it developing or not?
I think it's developing very rapidly. Poland is one of the leaders in CE region. Fintech solutions are extremely popular in Poland, both e-commerce and payment solutions. For example, our national BLIK is loved and used by millions every day. Moreover, fintech sector is quite often focused and related with other industry like cryptocurrencies, insurance, cloud computing, big data, and artificial intelligence.
Right. Tell me more about the institutions, entities that are in the service of fintech in Poland.
Sure. There are several institutions that can provide some form of payment services to the clients. First of all, we've got banks, of course, but we won't focus on them today. We will focus on payment institutions. In Poland, we have two kinds of payment institutions, a national payment institution and a small payment institution. Within this fintech market, we've got the cryptocurrency providers as well, and compliance providers. Those who helps you with your AML procedures and AML checks.
Great. The division sounds very clear to me. I want to focus on one of them.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in the small payments institution in Poland. Tell me more about it. What do you know about them?
Sure. The small payment institutions is a great solution for those investors who wants to get to know the Polish market a little bit and want to have a startup and want to focus on one territory. The small payment institution, you can get registered within 3 to 6 months, usually. The cost of obtaining the registration is quite low. The duty stamp is around 600 Polish zlotys. There's no minimum share capital that you need to inject in your company. And it can be even conducted by just individual persons. You don't even need a company set up in order to be registered.
Quite much benefits, don't you think? Tell me more about the small payments institution. Is it fair to say that small payments institution is quite popular in Poland?
Definitely it is. We do have, I think, around 250 of the small payment institutions registered within our national register.
Mm-hmm. Tell me more about it. What about the scope of services?
Okay, it's quite a scope of services. It's quite a wide range of services that the small payment institution can provide. 6 payment services. First is providing a payment account, so it's similar to bank accounts. Second, it can execute direct debits. It can execute transactions made via the payment instrument. So, for example, debit card, credit card, or mobile application. It can execute the wire transfers. It can provide payment credits, both to B2B or B2C clients. It can issue the payment instruments. It can provide acquiring service to business clients. And the last one is the money remittance. All of those services can be provided only within the territory of Poland.
Oh, that's very interesting information. What about the additional services? Is it legal to the small payments institution to do something not related even to the payments institution?
Yes, sure. In that situation, we can call a small payment institution a hybrid institution. It can provide other services. Usually our client do provide services that are connected with money. So for example, you can provide the money exchange service.
What about the regulator? How it look his view on this?
Well, it really depends on the services, additional services that you provide. But I think our regulator, it's fair to say that it's quite flexible to welcome different services within the small payment institution.
Yes, get it. What about the setting up the small payments institution? Do you recommend to choose all the payment services?
Oh, it's interesting question. If you have a specific business model, then we do encourage you to choose wisely and all those services that you are actually going to provide. But if you are trying to be a startup that is going to just check on how the Polish market works, then we do usually advise to get all the points of the registration that are available. This is because sometimes the business opportunity just opens up for you, and it's great to have it in your portfolio.
Yes, I fully understand it. I want to talk about about something else right now. What does it look like with regard to the second entity that you mentioned? I'm thinking about the National Payment Institution. In other words, where is the difference between the scope of services of small payments institution and the second one, the National Payments Institution?
Sure. The National Payment Institution can provide two additional services, which is the Payment Initiation Services and Account Information Service. It's a whole other license. First of all, it's a licensing process. It takes around year to 2 years to license the entity. It gives you much more opportunities because you can provide services transnationally, whereas for the small payment institution, you have to limit yourself to only to territory of Poland. So with the National Payment Institution, you can send money abroad. You have a little bit more of work to do in terms of the licensing process. There are several of the internal documents that needs to be provided. KNF especially looks at the AML processes and the IT security. So those have to be really. So you need to focus on those areas really a lot in order to speed up your licensing process. There is a minimum capital that is required for the National Payment Institution. That, of course, depends on the services that the payment institution will provide, but for the full scope, it's around 125,000 euros, or equivalent of those euros in Poland, in Polish zlotys.
Yes, I get it. Very interested. Very interesting. What about the time frame? You've said something about speeding up the procedure. So, as I understand, it could take longer than with the small payment institution?
Definitely, it takes longer. With the small payment institution, we've got 3 to 6 months around. And with the National Payment Institution, we are starting from 1 year up. So we were fortunate enough to license one of our clients within 12 months. But usually it's around year and a half to get through the process. Now, if you focus on AML procedures and the IT security a lot, I think it speeds up the process before KNF.
What about the costs of obtaining the license? Could you describe
this
it?
is the most interesting question. What about the cost? The small payment institution, so you need to spend around 600 Polish zlotys on the duty stamp for the small payment institution. No minimal capital. So it's just the cost of you setting up the company in Poland and getting a couple of people on board to support your ongoing operations. In terms of the national payment institution, you need to have the minimal share capital. Usually it's around 125,000 euros. You need to be able to support some kind of some employees within the licensing process, and of course not all of them, but the most crucial positions should be secured during the licensing process as well.
I think it will be reasonable to talk more about the very interesting term. I mean passporting. I've heard a lot about it, but could you describe more about it?
Sure. So the small payment institution is only limited to Polish territory, so there's no passporting involved. Whereas for the national payment institution, once you have it registered, you can passport your services. Once you're registered and notify KNF, you can start providing the services throughout European Union, which is quite helpful if you want to send the money abroad.
Great. And in nutshell, as I understand, you have to obtain only one license and one member state, and you can freely provide any payment services for all the Europe.
So yes, for example, if you are licensed in Poland, you need to, and you want to provide services in other European countries, you need to notify our regulator. But in terms of sending money abroad, you can do it straight after you get the national payment institution license.
Great. At the end, I want to ask about two topics. First of it will be your experience. Tell me from perspective of your law firm, the procedure, are you quite familiar with the procedure to obtaining a national payment institution license or not?
Definitely. Our law firm has registered 9% of the national payment institution markets, including securing the license this year for our client. And we've got, I think, 15% of the market of small payment institutions. So in total, I think it's around 70 plus institutions that we have either registered or licensed.
Great. Fully understood. In summary, I want to ask you about the small payments institution in contrast national payments institution. What kind of advantages, disadvantages could you describe shortly?
Sure. The small payment institution is great for startups. It's great for people who want to get to know the Polish market a little bit and want to start small. The registration period take around 3 to 5 months. There is no minimal capital that you need to inject. There is limited number of employees that you need to onboard before you start being operational. Whereas the national payment institution gives you more freedom in terms of sending money abroad because you can work internationally. The licensing process itself, it's a little bit longer and way more complicated than the small payment institution. It does require your knowledge and more involvement of the client within the licensing process. You have to focus strongly on your internal processes, but it gives you a lot of freedom once you're established and a lot of opportunities. We see, for example, from our clients' perspective, that once they are licensed as a national payment institution, they can really help within the fintech sector. They can work closely with the small payment institutions or cryptocurrency providers. There's quite a lot of options for for those companies once they are licensed.
Yes, I get it. And just one more thing, what about the additional services in the case of the national payment institution? Are they also allowed, like for the example of small payment institution?
Yes, definitely. You can provide additional services, including the money exchange, which is the most popular additional service to the payment services.
Great, such a pile of knowledge. Many thanks for your attention and see you next time.
Thank you.